The day I planned my best friend's baby shower, I discovered my fiancé was the father of her child. But instead of breaking down and making a scene, I joined forces with her husband to turn that celebration into the stage for the most devastating exposure of our lives. How could a decorated military veteran maintain such ice-cold composure while his pregnant wife carried another man's baby? My story might sound like something from a nightmare, but it's the brutal, raw truth I had to survive. It was a perfect Saturday afternoon in Miami. The venue I'd chosen, the Coral Garden Estate, was absolutely stunning. I'd spent 3 months planning every single detail of this baby shower. White and gold balloons floated elegantly from every corner. Fresh peonies and roses, Rebecca's favorites, adorned each table. The dessert tower I'd commissioned from the best bakery in South Beach stood 5 tiers high, decorated with delicate sugar flowers. Soft music played in the background, and golden sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making everything sparkle like a fairy tale. I stood near the entrance, checking my planning binder for the 100th time, making sure everything was perfect. As the owner of Enchanted Events Miami, perfection wasn't just my standard, it was my reputation. But this wasn't just any client event. This was for Rebecca Morgan, my best friend since our sophomore year at the University of Miami, the woman who'd been my maid of honor at my engagement party, the woman I'd cried with through her supposed 3 years of heartbreaking fertility struggles, the woman carrying what I believed was a miracle baby. I was wearing a soft lavender dress, something elegant but understated. I didn't want to outshine the mother-to-be. That's who I was, always thinking of others first, always making sure everyone else's moment was perfect. God, I was such a fool. My fiancé, Derek Chen, stood across the room talking to some of the guests. He looked impossibly handsome in his tailored navy suit, his dark hair perfectly styled. At 35, he was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Successful, charming, attentive. He owned Chen Properties, one of the fastest growing real estate development companies in South Florida. Everyone said I was lucky to have him. I believed them. Derek caught my eye and smiled, that devastating smile that had made me fall in love with him 2 years ago. He mouthed, "You did amazing," and my heart swelled with happiness. I thought I had everything. A thriving business I'd built from nothing, a gorgeous fiancé who supported my dreams, and a best friend who was finally getting the baby she'd prayed for. I was living in a beautiful bubble of rose-colored lies, and in just a few minutes, I was going to pop it with my own 2 hands. Rebecca looked radiant, sitting in her decorated chair that I'd found at 3 different vintage shops before finding the perfect one. At 8 months pregnant, she was glowing. Her honey blonde hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She wore a flowing white maternity dress that I'd helped her pick out during one of our many shopping trips. Her husband, James Morgan, stood beside her, his hand protectively on her shoulder. James was 33, a military veteran who'd served 2 tours overseas before returning to start his security consulting business. He was the kind of man who commanded respect just by walking into a room. Quiet, strong, reliable, the perfect husband, or so I thought. The shower was going beautifully. We'd played games, opened gifts, and everyone was laughing and celebrating. I felt proud. This was what I did best, creating perfect moments for people I loved. I excused myself to go to the catering area to check on the champagne for the upcoming toast. The caterers had set up in a back hallway near the venue's nursery, a small room that was usually used for events with young children. As I walked down the hallway, my heels clicking softly on the marble floor, I heard voices coming from the nursery. The door was slightly ajar. I was about to walk past when I heard Derek's voice, low and intense. My hand froze on the champagne bottle I was reaching for. 6 more weeks, Derek was saying. Just 6 more weeks and we can stop pretending. My heart started pounding. Something in his tone made my blood run cold. I stepped closer to the door, careful not to make a sound. I know, a woman's voice responded, Rebecca's voice. But James is getting suspicious. He's been asking questions about my doctor's appointments, wanting to come with me. James suspects nothing, Derek said, and I could hear the arrogance in his voice, that tone he used when he closed a big deal. He's too busy playing the devoted husband. And Maya, your loyal little best friend, is too busy planning the perfect party to notice anything. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. The champagne bottle I was holding slipped slightly in my suddenly sweaty hands. What about Maya? Rebecca asked, and I held my breath, pressing myself against the wall. Your fiancée, the woman who's been nothing but good to both of us. Don't you feel anything? Derek laughed. Actually laughed. The sound made me want to vomit. Maya is useful. Her company has connections to every high-end vendor in South Florida. We'll need those relationships when we start our new life in California. Her contact with that property manager in Beverly Hills? That's going to be our way in. So you're still planning to go through with the wedding? Rebecca sounded uncertain. Of course, Derek said smoothly. The wedding is in 4 months. That gives us time to liquidate some assets quietly, set up the accounts in California. After the baby is born and things settle down, we'll stage the affair discovery. I'll act devastated. We'll cancel the wedding, and I'll move to LA to start fresh. You'll tell James you need space to deal with postpartum issues, and you'll follow me 6 months later with our daughter. Our daughter. The words echoed in my mind like a death sentence. And the paternity? Rebecca whispered. James's name goes on the birth certificate, Derek said firmly. By the time he figures it out, if he ever does, we'll be long gone with full custody. My lawyer says the key is establishing residency in California first. Their family courts are more favorable. I couldn't breathe. My best friend, my fiancé, a baby, a conspiracy. My mind was racing, sitting, trying to process what I was hearing, trying to make it make sense, but nothing made sense. The hallway seemed to tilt around me. I love you, Rebecca said softly. I love you too, Derek replied. Our baby deserves better than these lies. Just a little longer, and we'll have everything. I heard movement, and I panicked. The champagne bottles I was holding slipped from my hands and crashed to the floor, exploding in a spray of glass and alcohol. The sound echoed through the hallway like a gunshot. The nursery door flew open. Derek and Rebecca stood there, frozen. Derek's hand was on Rebecca's lower back, intimate, possessive. Rebecca's face went white as paper. For a moment, nobody moved. We just stared at each other, the ruins of champagne bottles between us, the ruins of my entire life. Maya, Derek started, his face transforming into concern so quickly it was almost impressive. What are you doing back here? I couldn't speak. I couldn't form words. I just backed away, shaking my head, tears already streaming down my face. I turned and ran, my heels sliding on the champagne-soaked floor, nearly falling, catching myself against the wall. I ran toward the bathrooms, desperate to get away, to hide, to pretend this wasn't happening. I burst into the women's restroom and collapsed against the sink, sobbing so hard I thought I might be sick. My hands gripped the cold porcelain as my whole body shook. 2 years with Derek, 10 years with Rebecca, all lies. Everything was lies. The door opened behind me. I looked up in the mirror, expecting to see Rebecca, expecting to have to face her, but it was James. James Morgan, standing in the women's bathroom doorway, his face completely calm, completely controlled. I know, he said quietly, closing the door behind him. I know everything. I spun around, wiping at my tears, confused. What? James reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a manila folder. He handed it to me with steady hands. I've known for 4 months. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Inside were printed photographs. Derek and Rebecca at a hotel in Brickell. Derek and Rebecca having dinner at a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, somewhere I'd never been. Derek and Rebecca entering a medical clinic together. Time-stamped, dated, documented. I hired a private investigator in July, James said, his voice flat, emotionless. Rebecca started acting different, distant, protective of her phone. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for our anniversary, something innocent. The PI followed her to a hotel. Derek was there. I looked up at him. This man I thought I knew. This man whose wife was carrying another man's baby. And he looked back at me with eyes that held no tears, only cold calculation. "Why didn't you say anything?" I whispered. "Because I needed evidence," James said. "Not just of the affair, but of everything. Intent, planning, conspiracy. I needed enough to ensure I'd get full custody of the child once the truth came out. I've been recording conversations in my house. It's legal in Florida with single-party consent. I'm the single party." He pulled out his phone and played an audio file. Rebecca and Derek's voices filled the small bathroom, discussing their plans, their timeline, their strategy. I heard dates, bank accounts, property details. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated plot. "They're planning to take my child," James continued, his jaw tight. "The baby they created while I was in Denver for a security contract, while you were in Vegas for that wedding expo. They timed it, Maya. They planned it. And now they're planning to disappear with her." "Her?" I asked weakly. "It's a girl," James said. "They know. They've known for months. They just haven't told anyone because they're waiting for the gender reveal today. It's supposed to be a surprise." I slid down the bathroom wall, my legs giving out. I sat on the cold tile floor in my beautiful lavender dress, holding a folder full of my destroyed life, and I wanted to die. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to wake up and have this all be a nightmare. "I need your help," James said, crouching down to my level. His eyes, gray and intense, locked onto mine. "They're planning to ruin both our lives. Derek took out a $2 million life insurance policy on you 3 months ago. Did you know that?" My blood turned to ice. "What?" "My PI discovered it," James said. "Derek told the insurance company it was for estate planning before the wedding, standard procedure for wealthy couples. But Maya, Rebecca, has been researching your shellfish allergy extensively. Her browser history shows searches for severe allergic reactions. How long does Benadryl take to work? Signs of anaphylaxis. She's been asking your mutual friends about your allergy, asking detailed questions." I couldn't breathe. My shellfish allergy was severe, life-threatening. I carried 2 EpiPens everywhere. Everyone who knew me knew about it. "I think they're planning to kill you," James said quietly. "Make it look like an accident. Derek collects the insurance money, adds it to whatever he's been embezzling from your business accounts, and they start their new life in California with everything. Your money, my child, no loose ends." The words hung in the air between us. Murder. They were planning to murder me. "I can't prove the murder plot yet," James continued, "but I can prove everything else. The affair, the paternity, the financial planning, the intent to flee with the child. And today, with both families here, with all our friends and everyone who loves us watching, we're going to expose them. We're going to let them reveal the gender of the baby they made together, and then we're going to reveal the truth of what they are." I looked at this man, this stranger who was somehow my ally, and I saw in his eyes what I felt in my heart. Not just pain, not just betrayal, but rage. White-hot, burning rage. "What do you need me to do?" I asked. The plan was simple but devastating. We would let the baby shower continue. We would smile and pretend everything was fine. I would be the perfect event planner, the perfect best friend, the perfect fiancé. And when the moment came for the gender reveal, when everyone was gathered, when both families were watching, we would burn their entire world to the ground. I stood up, wiped my tears, and looked at myself in the mirror. My mascara was ruined. My eyes were red, but I fixed it. I reapplied my makeup with shaking hands. I straightened my dress. I took a deep breath and became someone I didn't recognize. Someone hard. Someone capable of revenge. James and I walked back to the party separately. Nobody had noticed we'd been gone. Derek and Rebecca were back in the main room, laughing with guests, playing their roles perfectly. Rebecca was opening more gifts, exclaiming over tiny clothes and baby toys. Derek was charming Rebecca's mother, making her laugh with some story. They were so good at this, so practiced. I walked up to Derek and slipped my arm through his. He looked down at me, and for just a fraction of a second, I saw the worry in his eyes. But then he smiled, kissed my forehead, and pulled me close. "There you are, babe," he said smoothly. "Everything okay?" Someone said they heard glass breaking. "Just some champagne bottles," I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. "The caterer's already cleaned it up. We're ready for the toast." "You're amazing," Derek said, squeezing my hand. "This whole event is perfect. Rebecca is so lucky to have you." I smiled at him, this man I'd planned to marry, this man who was planning to kill me. I'd do anything for the people I love. The lies tasted like poison on my tongue, but I swallowed them down. The afternoon continued. More games, more laughter, more gifts. I played my part flawlessly. I refilled drinks, I coordinated the caterers, I made sure every moment was Instagram perfect, and all the while, James and I exchanged glances across the room. He was playing his part too, the devoted husband, his hand on Rebecca's shoulder, bringing her water, adjusting her chair. Finally, the moment arrived. The gender reveal. I'd ordered a special black balloon filled with either pink or blue powder, a dramatic pop that would shower Rebecca in color while everyone celebrated. The balloon sat in the center of the room, huge and glossy, tied with elegant ribbons. "Everyone gather around," I called out, clapping my hands. "It's time for the big moment." The guests crowded closer, phones out, cameras ready. Rebecca's mother was crying happy tears. Derek's parents, who'd flown in from San Francisco, stood at the front, beaming with pride at their son's devotion to his friend's special day. If only they knew. Rebecca stood next to the balloon, holding the pin I'd given her. She was glowing, radiant, one hand on her pregnant belly. James stood on her other side, and Derek stood near me. We were all together, one big happy family, built on a foundation of rot and lies. "Before we pop the balloon," James said suddenly, his voice cutting through the excited chatter. Everyone turned to look at him. "I want to say something." Rebecca looked up at him, surprised. "Honey, you already gave your speech earlier." "I know," James said. His voice was calm, controlled, but I could hear the steel underneath. "But there's something important everyone needs to know before we celebrate. Something about who this baby's father really is." The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Rebecca's face went from glowing to pale in seconds. "James," she said quietly, warning in her voice. "Don't." "Don't what?" James asked, looking down at her. "Don't tell the truth? Don't let everyone know that the man who's been standing beside me all day, my friend Derek, has been sleeping with my wife? Don't reveal that the baby we're about to celebrate isn't mine?" Gasps erupted around the room. Rebecca's mother's hand flew to her mouth. Derek's face went white, then red, then white again. "That's insane," Derek said, stepping forward, his lawyer voice activating. "James, I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything, James said flatly. He pulled out his phone. Maya, could you connect my phone to the projector? My hands were shaking, but I walked to the AV system I'd set up for the slideshow of Rebecca's pregnancy journey. Instead, I connected James's phone. The screen behind Rebecca flickered to life. What appeared was a timeline, a detailed, documented timeline. On one side were Rebecca's ovulation dates, tracked from her fertility app that James had access to. On the other side were Derek's calendar entries, his location data from his phone, his credit card statements. Every date Rebecca was fertile, Derek was conveniently nearby. The hotel in Brickell during Maya's Vegas trip, the afternoon meeting that matched Rebecca's doctor's appointment, the weekend golf trip that overlapped with Rebecca's spa retreat. These are facts, James said, his voice growing harder. Documented, verified facts. My private investigator has been following you both for 4 months. The screen changed. Now it showed photographs. Derek and Rebecca entering a hotel. Time-stamped. Dated. Derek and Rebecca at a beachfront restaurant, holding hands across the table. Derek and Rebecca at an OB/GYN clinic. Derek's hand on Rebecca's stomach. No, Rebecca whispered, backing away from the screen. No, this isn't. It is, I said, my voice cutting through her denial. I walked to the front of the room, holding my phone. And it gets worse. I pressed play on an audio file James had given me. The voices that filled the room were Derek and Rebecca, recorded in James's home, discussing their plans. 6 more weeks and we can disappear, Derek's voice said clearly. I've already set up the accounts in California. Maya's too trusting to notice anything's wrong with the business finances. What about James? Rebecca's voice asked. James will be too devastated to fight, Derek responded. By the time he realizes the baby isn't his, we'll be gone. And Maya, well, Maya won't be a problem much longer. I stopped the audio there. The room was in complete chaos. People were shouting, crying, demanding explanations. Derek's mother was sobbing. Rebecca's sister was screaming at Rebecca. Derek was trying to push toward the exit, but James moved faster, blocking his path. There's more, I said, my voice shaking now, the anger finally bleeding through. Do you want to tell them about the life insurance policy, Derek? The $2 million you took out on me 3 months ago? Derek's face crumbled. Maya, I can explain. Can you explain why my fiancé has been researching my shellfish allergy? I shouted, all the pain and rage finally erupting. Can you explain why she's been asking everyone we know detailed questions about how severe my reactions are? Can you explain why you're planning to murder me and steal everything I've built? The room exploded. Derek's father grabbed him by the collar. James had his phone out, calling someone. Rebecca collapsed into her chair, sobbing hysterically. I loved you, I said, my voice breaking. I was crying now. Couldn't help it. All the emotion pouring out. I loved you both. Rebecca, you were my sister. I was there for every fertility appointment, every negative test, every tear. I held your hand and told you it would happen. And you were sleeping with my fiancé. You were plotting to kill me. We weren't going to kill you, Rebecca screamed, her face blotchy and red. That wasn't. Then what? I demanded. What were you researching? What was the plan? Rebecca's obtilence was answer enough. The police arrived 15 minutes later. James had called them before the party even started, had them waiting nearby. They took statements from everyone. They confiscated Derek's phone, Rebecca's phone. They took the evidence James and I provided. And then Rebecca went into labor. The stress, the shock, the exposure. It triggered early labor. She was 33 weeks, far enough along that the baby would likely be fine, but it was chaos. The ambulance came. The guests scattered. The beautiful baby shower I'd spent 3 months planning dissolved into a nightmare of flashing lights and sirens. I rode in the ambulance with Rebecca because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies and the murder plot, I couldn't let her go through labor alone. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't. James rode with us, silent and stone-faced. At the hospital, everything became a blur. Doctors, nurses, monitors beeping. Rebecca was crying, screaming, begging me to forgive her. I said nothing. I just stood against the wall and watched as the woman who'd been my best friend gave birth to my fiance's daughter. The baby was tiny but healthy, 5 pounds, 2 ounces, perfect little fingers and toes. They cleaned her up and placed her in Rebecca's arms, and for a moment, everything was quiet. Rebecca looked down at her daughter, tears streaming down her face, and whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I walked out of the room. I couldn't watch anymore. In the hospital hallway, I found Derek. He was there with his lawyer, trying to see the baby, trying to claim some right to be there. When he saw me, he tried to approach. "Don't," I said, holding up my hand. "Don't come near me." "Maya, please, Ziti," Derek said, and he actually looked devastated. "I never meant for it to go this far. I love you. I really do love you." "You love my money," I said coldly. "You love my business connections. You love what I could give you. But you never loved me." "That's not true," Derek insisted. "Rebecca and I, it just happened. We didn't plan." "You absolutely planned it," I interrupted. "I heard you. I heard everything. You plotted and schemed and used both of us. You were going to kill me, Derek. Kill me and take everything." "No," Derek said desperately. "The insurance policy was legitimate. The allergy research, that was Rebecca being paranoid, not me. I would never hurt you." "But you let her do it," I said. "You let her kill me and take the money. That's the same thing." 2 police detectives appeared then, walking toward us with purpose. "Derek Chen?" Derek turned, his face ashen. "Yes?" "We need you to come with us," the detective said. "We have some questions about financial irregularities in Enchanted Events Miami's accounts, as well as some concerning evidence regarding conspiracy to commit fraud and possibly attempted murder." As they led Derek away, his lawyer protesting the whole time, Derek looked back at me one last time. "I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry." I watched him go and felt nothing, just emptiness. James found me in the hospital chapel an hour later. I was sitting in the back pew staring at nothing, trying to process everything that had happened. He sat down beside me in silence. "The baby's healthy," he said finally. "They're going to keep her in the NICU for observation, but she's going to be fine." "That's good," I said quietly. "I requested a paternity test," James continued. "Court ordered. Results will take a few days, but we both know what they'll show." "What are you going to do?" I asked. "Fight for custody," James said simply. "That baby didn't ask for any of this. She deserves a stable home, a parent who actually wants her for the right reasons. Rebecca isn't fit to be a mother, not after everything, and Derek will be in prison." "Prison?" James nodded. "My lawyer is confident. The evidence of conspiracy, the financial fraud, the insurance policy combined with Rebecca's search history, it's enough for attempted murder charges. At minimum, Derek is looking at fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. He'll do time." We sat in silence for a long moment. "Thank you," James said suddenly, "for helping me today, for being strong enough to do what we did." "I didn't have a choice," I said bitterly. "They took my choice away when they decided to destroy my life." "You did have a choice," James corrected gently. "You could have broken down. You could have run away. You could have let them win. But you didn't. You fought back." I started crying then, really crying, all the tears I'd been holding back since that moment in the hallway. James put his arm around my shoulders, and I cried into the shoulder of this man I barely knew. This man who'd become my unexpected ally in the worst moment of my life. The next few weeks were a blur of police statements, lawyer meetings, and court hearings. The evidence against Derek and Rebecca was overwhelming. Derek's embezzlement from my company was extensive. He'd been siphoning funds for over a year, using his access to my accounts to slowly drain money into offshore holdings. The total was over $300,000. Rebecca's browser history was damning. Searches for untraceable poisons, severe allergic reaction symptoms, how to trigger anaphylaxis, signs of fatal allergic shock. Her lawyer tried to claim it was pregnancy anxiety, that she was worried about the baby having allergies. Nobody believed it. The paternity test confirmed what we all knew. Derek was the father. James filed for divorce and full custody simultaneously. Rebecca's lawyer tried to fight it, but the evidence of her affair, her conspiracy, and her fitness as a mother was too much. James was granted full custody, with Rebecca getting supervised visitation only. Derek was charged with embezzlement, conspiracy to commit fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. The attempted murder charge was harder to prove. His lawyer argued there was no direct evidence Derek knew about Rebecca's research, that she was acting alone in any potential murder plot. But the insurance policy, combined with his recorded statements about me not being a problem much longer, was enough for the prosecutor to proceed. I had to close my business temporarily. The scandal was too much, too public. Every news outlet in South Florida covered it. Event planner exposes best friend's betrayal at baby shower was the headline that went viral. My phone rang constantly with the media requests. Some were sympathetic. Many were just vultures wanting the gory details. I stopped answering my phone. I stopped leaving my apartment. I stopped eating, sleeping, functioning. Depression hit me like a truck and I couldn't see a way through it. My sister flew in from Chicago and basically moved into my apartment. She forced me to eat, to shower, to see a therapist. Slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. 6 months after that devastating baby shower, I was sitting in my therapist's office talking about trust and betrayal and how to move forward when I got a call from James. "Can you meet me?" he asked. "There's something I want to show you." It met him at a park near the beach. He was there with the baby, Hope. He'd named her Hope, in a stroller. She was 6 months old now, chubby and healthy and beautiful. When she saw me, she smiled, and something in my chest cracked open. "She remembers you," James said softly. "From the hospital, from your visits. I'd been visiting them once a week, unable to stay away. This baby was innocent in all of this, and somehow, seeing her gave me purpose." "I wanted to tell you first," James said. "Derek was sentenced today. 12 years for embezzlement and conspiracy. The attempted murder charge didn't stick. Not enough direct evidence linking him to Rebecca's research. But 12 years is something. And Rebecca? 5 years for fraud and conspiracy. She'll be eligible for parole in 3 with good behavior. The custody arrangement stands. I have full custody. She gets supervised visits when she's released." I nodded, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Justice, but also emptiness. Revenge, but also sadness. "I also wanted to tell you," James continued, looking nervous for the first time since I'd known him, "that I've been talking to a lawyer about something else. About you." "Me? Hope needs a godmother," James said. "Someone who will love her, protect her, teach her to be strong and brave. Someone who's been through hell and came out the other side. Someone like you, Maya, if you want. No pressure. I just thought," "Yes," I said immediately, tears streaming down my face. "Yes, I want that." James smiled, and I saw genuine happiness in his eyes for the first time. We sat on that park bench together, watching Hope sleep, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not complete peace, not healed, but the beginning of healing. That was 2 years ago. Today, I'm sitting at a survivors conference in Orlando, about to give a speech about trust and betrayal and how to rebuild your life after it's been shattered. My business, Enchanted Events, is thriving again, stronger than before. I specialize now in second chances, helping people celebrate new beginnings, fresh starts, healing. Hope is 2 years old, happy and healthy. I see her every week. She calls me Auntie Maya. James and I have become close friends, bonded by trauma, but building something healthy and good. As I stand up to walk to the podium, I catch the eye of a man in the audience. He's handsome, around 40, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Our connection is brief but electric. When I finish my speech and take questions, he raises his hand. "How did you learn to trust again?" he asks. His voice is warm, professional. "After everything you went through?" "I'm still learning," I answer honestly. "Every day. But I think trust isn't about being naive anymore. It's about being wise. It's about trusting yourself first, trusting your instincts, and then carefully, slowly, letting others in. Not everyone deserves your trust, but some people do. The hard part is knowing the difference. After the conference, he approaches me. "I'm Dr. Daniel Foster," he says, extending his hand. "I specialize in betrayal trauma therapy. I wanted to say your story was incredibly powerful." We talk for an hour, then 2. He asks me to coffee. I hesitate, every instinct screaming at me to run, to protect myself, to never risk my heart again. But then I think of Hope, of her innocent smile, of the life that came from so much darkness. And I say yes. I don't know if Daniel will be someone important in my life. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal from what Derek and Rebecca did to me. But I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm surviving. And sometimes survival is enough. Sometimes it's everything. But life, as I've learned, is never simple. 3 weeks after meeting Daniel, after 3 wonderful coffee dates and the beginning of something that feels real and safe, I come home to find an envelope slipped under my door. No return address, no stamp, hand delivered. Inside is a letter. The handwriting is Rebecca's. "Dear Maya," it begins, "I know you have no reason to read this, and even less reason to believe me, but there are things you don't know. Things about Derek that even I didn't know until I was in prison. Things about his past, about other women, about other plans. You weren't the first, Maya. You were just the one who got away. There's a woman in Boston who wasn't so lucky. Her name was Jennifer. She was found dead 2 years before you met Derek. Allergic reaction, shellfish. The case was closed as accidental. But Maya, she looked just like you. Same age, same profession, same allergy. I'm telling you this not for forgiveness. I'll never deserve that. I'm telling you because you need to know what he is, what he really is. And you need to know that he's been making calls from prison, calls to people on the outside. He's been asking about you, about Hope, about where we live. The detective I spoke to said there's not enough to charge him with anything new. But Maya, I'm scared. I'm scared for my daughter. I'm scared for you. Please be careful. Please protect yourself. And please, if you can find it in your heart, protect Hope. She's innocent in all of this. I know I have no right to ask, but I'm asking anyway. Be careful. Rebecca. My hands shake as I read the letter twice, 3 times. Jennifer, Boston, allergic reaction. I pick up my phone and call James immediately. "We need to talk," I say when he answers. "Right now. It's about Derek." And just like that, the nightmare I thought was over begins again. Because the truth, I'm learning, has layers. And some monsters wear human faces so convincing, you never see them coming until it's too late. But this time, I'm ready. This time, I know what evil looks like. And this time, I'm not the naive girl planning a baby shower for her best friend. I'm a survivor. I'm a fighter. And I'm done being a victim. Did you stay until the end? If you made it this far, drop a number 1 in the comments. Have you ever discovered a betrayal at the worst possible moment? Share your story below. You're not alone. If you believe karma is real, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real-life stories of survival and justice. I've got 2 more shocking betrayal stories you need to hear, and they're even more unbelievable than this one. Links are on your screen right now. Thanks for listening to my story. Thanks for being here. And remember, no matter what you're going through, survival is possible. Healing is possible. And sometimes, the life you build after everything falls apart is even better than the one you lost. See you in the next one. Stay strong.